Welcome back. Well, from professional athletes to investigative reporters, it seems like everybody has a podcast these days. Is there still room to jump in the pool? Here to tell us about the local podcasting community are Badr Milligan and Blythe Blythe, co-founders of Jax Podcasters United. Welcome.
Hey, good morning, Anne. Good morning,
Thank you
Jacksonville.
so much.
Thanks for being here. So tell us, Badr, at what point is the podcast market saturated?
You could probably make an argument a couple of years ago, but you know what? I think that's the beauty of podcasting is that it kind of democratized, I probably said that all wrong, the ability of spoken word and having your own kind of show. So, I'm here for it.
Yeah, everybody, I guess, has an opportunity to do it. The technology isn't necessarily
Agreed.
out of the reach of a lot of people. But so what does Podcasters United do for people who are trying to find their voice or trying to get something started?
So we really appeal to a broad dynamic of podcasters, whether you're entry level or whether you have the high expertise that you've been doing it for years. The overwhelming majority of podcasters quit after 10 episodes. It's something like 90% of all podcasters quit before they ever make it to 10 episodes. And so while there are a lot of podcasts out there, we try to help the people that are trying to get started and excel to the next level. And so we have a lot of businesses here in the North Florida area that cater to specifically podcasting, and also a lot of workers that are working in the gig economy that can help facilitate some of those things that, when you start podcasting, you might not be a fan of.
Yeah. And we firmly...
Like editing or
Yes.
sound control. Yeah.
all the nitty gritty hard stuff, really. But we firmly believe in collaboration and community over competition. So our goal is to make Jacksonville a hub and a destination for podcasters because, we believe, like, why not Jax? There's already a community of great podcasters, entrepreneurs, and businesses, like Blythe was saying.
Why is it that so many stop before they get very far?
It's a lot of the challenges that we've kind of already discussed. So it's the editing, it's the production quality. Do I need to move to video or not? And then also with balancing it with a full-time job. And so when you are starting off with podcasting, it's very difficult to gain that traction quickly because of the discoverability or the lack thereof within podcasting. And so they get frustrated. They only have a handful of listeners and they figure, well, why am I doing all of this? And that's why we have the JPU, is that we want to be that voice for you, that flashlight in the dark for these folks that are getting frustrated but want to move to the next level, and they want to know, are they alone or are other people experiencing the same thing?
Do you think that perhaps some people just also don't realize their capacity to produce or that the subject that they're interested in talking about maybe doesn't have just that much runway?
Yeah. And I think it goes back to what you were saying about the oversaturation. I think, podcasting has, the floodgates have kind of opened up in the last couple of years. And I think especially of COVID, with a lot more people being at home and doing more things like streaming and being more involved with online communities, I think a lot of folks had seen like how many podcasts were popping up and maybe discounted the level of work that goes into, especially as a hobbyist, or if you don't have a giant network or, full-time producers and whatnot, you really start, I think that sometimes new podcasters kind of undervalue or underestimate just how much work goes into everything behind the scenes that doesn't involve being in front of the mic.
Yeah. I mean, I can attest to that. We've been working on a podcast project here, and it is enormously time consuming. It really does take a lot of work and detail, focus to do it. But is there, I find it as a podcast fan that it's really hard to sort of sift through the chaff, as it were, because there's subjects that interest me, but I still don't like the way that the podcast is done. Or maybe the podcast has really low production values, but I really want to know what they're talking about. But there's so many. I just curious if you have any tips for how you access the stuff you want in a way that you're not listening to a bunch of stuff you don't care about.
Well, the majority of podcasts you hear about through word of mouth. And so that's the most challenging piece to the puzzle. But we found that if we recommend the discoverability platform, so social media, email marketing, developing those relationships with your audience from the jump, so then that way you have direct access to them, and then exploring and expanding into worlds of like YouTube, for example, because YouTube is kind of the bane of existence for a lot of podcasters. They think, oh, I have to do video now too, but YouTube YouTube's algorithm and their discoverability for your show is so much more powerful. So even if you just have your cell phone standing up and filming you while you're doing the recording, that can mean more visitors can discover your show on a variety of platforms and then follow you on the podcast platform.
So there is an event though that's coming up next Wednesday, this Podathon. So what is the goal of it? Who's invited, and what's it all about?
So everyone, so we like to say that whether you are a podcaster that's been doing it for a long time or an aspiring podcaster dreams of starting your own show, you're all invited, because we have resources and tools there that are valuable for all skill levels. So our Podathon it's going to be our second annual event next Wednesday. It's the biggest free event that the Jax Podcasters United group throws. And it's modeled after like the traditional radiothon. So in this instance, it's our opportunity to not only empower local podcasters and podcasters in our community, but also a chance for us to do some good by raising money for, local charity. In this case, that we're supporting Feeding Northeast Florida.
All right. You can find more info at jaxpodcastersunited.com. Thanks for being here, both of you.
A pleasure. Thank you.
All right. That's our program.